So let's get started. Hope everyone chose their character. Before we actually get started, right? We're still waiting on about 5 or 6 people still. So on the screen here, you will see for letters from A to K. The black and green teams get to choose 3 letters. So I guess there's a little favoritism for the black and green teams. Everyone else only gets to choose 2 letters. So let me know what your 3 letters, or in some cases, your 2 letters, and let's see how lucky you get at the beginning of the game. So let me know in the chat. Right, let's see the letters. So those are the gems associated with the letters. So only grab it if, obviously, it's your color gems. And if you didn't get any, if you look at the right-hand lower part of the screen, these soldiers just found 2 blue gems and 3 black gems. So if anybody needs those or can collect those, you can add them to your collection as well, right? All right, so let's move on. Let's go to functions. So what is a function? Well, the whole point of an equation is to give you a value. For example, right, let me make up my own equation. Let's say I have 2x minus, well, let me say I have 2x plus 7. So I come and I give you that. I say, hey, 2x plus 7. And I tell you, hey, replace the letter X with 5. So I just come out of nowhere and say, hey, replace the letter X with 5. So what I will do is, I am given 2x plus 7, and now the letter X, I'm going to replace it with 5. But in maths, whenever you replace something, you have to put it in brackets. You have to. Any replacement. And then I write back the plus 7. So now I'm going to work this out. Whenever I have 2 things here and nothing in between is a secret multiply, obviously. 2 by 5 is what? 10 plus 7. The answer is what? 17. So everybody squeeze there. The point is, right? When you were given an equation, I had given you instructions to replace the letter X with 5. Now, if I wanted to do that in the exam, right now, I can't really tell you. I would have to write that on paper. I would have to write a sentence. Please replace X with 5 and work out the question. Functions is just an easier way of saying it. A kind of lazy man way of saying it. So that is what we're going to be doing in the majority of these questions. We are just going to be given an equation, and your job, but I will tell you what to replace X with. It's going to be very, very simple in the beginning, right? So everyone just something's wrong with the screen here. Just something is missing here. Hx is equal to x on 2. All right. So here's at the beginning of a functions question, the examiner will write some functions to the top of the paper. So the 3 functions, they usually assign letters to name the function, just like how when you have a dog, you just name the dog. The name of the first function, the yellow one, his name is fx, and you notice the x is in brackets. The name of the second function is gx, and his value is 5x. And the name of the third function is hx, and his equation is x on 2. So the number 1 question I get is, where do these equations come from? The answer is simple. The examiner writes it on the paper at the beginning of the exam. So do me a favor. Everyone write down these 3 functions. And then we're going to answer some simple questions on them. Right? Well, I the functions is something called f, and in brackets, you see the letter 3. Let me explain what this question means. First of all, it have 3 functions at the beginning, one named f, one named g, and one named h. If you see a question called f3, which equation is obviously being referred to? Is it the yellow one, the bluish one, or the pink one? It is not a trick question. And if it's f, and it have a f here, well, then obviously this question is referring to which function? The yellow one. And in functions, whatever you have in the brackets, you replace x with that. So whenever you see the question f3, let me break it down to you. That just means go to the equation fx, whose value is 2x minus 3, and anywhere you see the letter x, anywhere, look at it here, anywhere you see the letter x, replace it with what value? 3. In other words, whatever you have in the brackets, you just replace x with that. That is all you are doing. So let me show you the working I will put for the examiner. First of all, I'm going to write back the function that I plan to use. fx is 2x minus 3. That's this, right? I didn't change anything. The examiner has asked me to find f open brackets 3. That just means go to this equation, and anywhere you see the letter x, look at the letter x there, throw him away and replace him with whatever is in the brackets. 3. But in maths, remember I told you at the beginning of class, when you're replacing something in maths, you must put it in brackets. So let's work this out and we would be finished. 2 by 3 is 6 minus 3. 6 minus 3 is 3. That's your final answer. That's the end of the question. The moral of the story, and some people like to overthink it. It's literally as simple as you think. Whatever is in the brackets, replace x with that and try to simplify it, right? Right. You think you all could try, just try your hand at part B, g minus 2? Just try it. You don't have to get it correct, right? Just try and send the answer on the chat, right? Wrong, right? So the part B is g minus 2. So we're obviously talking about the blue equation, because there's only one function here that has g in it. That's the blue one. So I know I plan to use the blue function. So I just write it back, not changing anything. And the examiner has asked me to find g minus 2. All he wants us to do is go over here and replace any x's we see in brackets with minus 2. And simplify it if possible. 5 multiplied by minus 2 is minus 10. That's the end of that question. Try C for me and send the answer. Okay. This one here, let's see. H minus 10. So I'm going to write back hx, because we're dealing with h, obviously, because there's a big h here in the question. Hx is x on 2. So h minus 10, we're supposed to replace x with minus 10. So I'm replacing this x on top with minus 10 divided by 2. Minus 10 divided by 2 is minus 5, because 10 divided by 2 is 5. When you divide a minus by a positive, you get a minus. Right? So I hope everyone got that one correct. Right? If not, take down. Right. Let's try some slightly harder questions. Right? Number hx is how much? X on 2. You notice I put in some negative numbers and some fractions. Now remember, everyone here is going to have calculators, right? Now you have two options when it comes to fractions. If you don't like fractions, you can convert it to a decimal and just use a calculator to work it out. Or you could just use your fractions button. I am just letting you know that when I am working out these questions today, if I have a fraction, I am most likely going to change it to a decimal and then proceed to work it out, right? So if you want to have the same working as me, put everything as a decimal. But the point of this exercise is to try to show you that the concept of functions, it doesn't matter if the values in the brackets are positive, negative, or are fractions. The same concept still holds. All right, so I've given you all 2 minutes to try D, E, and F and send the answers on the chat. Next. So the first one, well, D, they're asking us to find G20, well, minus 20. So we're talking about the function G, right? So we're going to use this function. So write back the function that we tried to use. Gx is equal to 5x. How functions work, whatever you have inside the brackets, remember, that is what you replace x with. So if they're asking us to find g minus 20, all they're asking us to do is go and replace x in the equation, in the chosen equation, with minus 20 in brackets. 5 multiplied by minus 20 is minus 100. 5 multiplied by 20 is 100. A positive multiplied by a negative is a negative. Right? And a lot of people submitted those answers, right? So I know people are on the right track. So I'm going to work out E. And remember, as promised, well, not promised, as I said, I'm going to use decimals. So if the examiner were to ask me to find F3/4, I can rewrite the question like this to make my life easier. I know 3/4 from primary school is the same thing as 0.75. And the thing about it, typing in decimals on a calculator easier anyway than a fraction. So I'm going to try to work out F0.75. So which equation am I talking about? F. So it's this equation that we're referring to, the yellow one. So let's write back the equation we plan to use. Fx is equal to 2x minus 3. The examiner has asked us to find F0.75. That means we're going to replace x in brackets with 0.75. How much people had up to there at least? Like you didn't let the fraction get to you. It's the same thing. Replace x with whatever is in the brackets. And when you do a replacement, you always put it in brackets. So let's work this out. 2 multiplied by 0.75. You can work that out on the calculator. You'll get 1.5 minus 3. 1.5 minus 3 is minus 1.5. Finished. Let's try the last one. H minus 1/4. Well, how about I rewrite it like this? Instead of trying to work out h minus 1/4, and 1/4 is the same thing as 0.25, and of course, it just put the minus sign. Minus 0.25 is the same thing as minus a quarter. So if they're asking us to find h minus 0.25, well, clearly it's the pink equation they're talking about. So let me write back the pink equation that the examiner gave us at the beginning of the exam. H minus 0.25, sorry for the cram here. You're replacing, I run out of space. I'm gonna write it a little bit better. There's someone, guys. I should not write so big in the first place. So let's pass squiggly line here. Right. So if they ask me to find h minus 0.25, I'm just supposed to take minus 0.25 in brackets and divide it by 2. Remember, this is negative and this 2 is positive. When you divide a negative by a positive, we know we're going to get a negative. Now take 0.25 and divide it by 2. You will get 0.125. I know some people round it off to 0.13, but don't do that now. 0.125 is such a nice number. I would suggest that you keep all 3 decimal places. How much people got all 3 correct without my assistance? All we're doing for functions is look in the brackets. What value you have in the brackets? Whatever you have, go to the equation that you're talking about and replace x with that. That's all. That's all we've been doing. Right? Now, you can't expect these questions to worth too much marks, right? This is 1 mark questions in the exam. 1 mark. Right. All right. So before I make your hair gray, right, we're going to take a vote on which team you chose at the beginning of class, right? The most popular team gets 10 extra gems. The least popular team, yes, they're getting rewarded for being on the least popular team. You get 5 extra gems. Everyone else, no gems. So let's take a little vote here. I'll launch the vote. Right. Put in your votes and let's see which team chimes in with the majority of the class. Share the results. So, unfortunately for me, once again, the blue team has won. The team I did not want to. So for the people who genuinely voted on the blue team and you are part of the blue team, 10 extra gems. The least popular team is the green team, the dragon-like warrior there. But you still get rewarded for it. So people who chose the green team, 5 extra gems added to your collection and keep track of how much you have. Right? The rest of the teams, unfortunately, nothing. Right? Right. Let's go. All right, so it's looking a little bit harder now, right? So do me a favor, for those who were complaining it was too easy, I hope you're happy now. All right, so here's what. It have 3 new functions at the top of the screen. By the way, I know for the last few slides, the names of the functions was F, G, and H. It doesn't have to be F, G, and H. It could be any letter. It could be M. It could be K. It could be Z. It's just the most popular letters on the CXC syllabus to represent the names of functions. For some reason, it is the F, G, and H. That's just how it turned out. Right. When you're finished taking down all 3 functions, just raise your hand and we're going to try the first question, H, right? All right. So tell me something. H. Do you all see the difference between this question and the rest of the questions? G2x. In all the other questions, when we looked inside the brackets, didn't we just have a number like 2 or 3 or minus 10 or a fraction? You notice what they have in the brackets? They have a number and a letter. So I just saying, right? Let me just say that I decided to scratch off this x here. Let me just say I decided to scratch off that x. Notice I scratch it off, right? Could you all send me the answer for that on the chat? Like, if I erased that x, so I just have a regular boring number in the brackets, what would be the answer in a case like that? And the answers are coming up, right? You can do that in your head, right? If it was G2, then the function they're referring to is what? 5x. If they ask me to find G2, then I just replace Mr. X with whatever is in the brackets. And we would obviously get what? 10, right? But the question is not G2. The new question is G what? 2x. So how do we do a question like that now when you have a number and a letter in the brackets or something strange in the brackets? The concept is still the same, you know, guys. If you have 2x in the brackets, any rules is this. Whatever you have in the brackets, you replace the x with that. So look at me do this slowly. We have 5x. We're going to erase this x and replace it with whatever is in the brackets. What do we have in the brackets? 2x. So I'm throwing away that x, that's this x here, and replacing it with whatever we have there, which happens to be 2x. Let's simplify. And remember, when we replace something, when we replace the x's, we have to put it in brackets. 5 multiplied by 2x is 10x. That's the final answer. That cannot get any more simple. The moral of the story is this, and I know I'm saying it over and over. No matter what you have in the brackets, no matter how strange it looks, you replace x with that. That's all you do, right? You think you all could try I for me? Fx minus 3. That strange looking thing. And you have to simplify it. You have to simplify it as much as possible. I'll give you a minute with that one. The letter I. So which function that we're obviously referring to here? F, right? So that's the green one here. So I'll write it back in green. F x is what? 4 minus x, right? But they want us to find what? F x minus 3. So in the brackets, we have what? X minus 3. So when we go to this equation here, look at have an x here. What we suppose to replace that x with? With whatever is in the brackets. So let's do that. 4 minus, look the x here, throw him away. And in brackets, remember when you're replacing an x, you have to put it in brackets. And what are we replacing it with? X minus 3. X used to live here, but we kicked him out and replaced him with x minus 3 because that is what was in the brackets. But we're not finished. You see, we could simplify this. So from the homework, right? Remember, everyone here gets multiplied by the minus sign outside. So this x is positive, right? A minus by a positive is a minus. And a minus by a minus is a positive. So you see what happens there. Everyone inside the brackets gets multiplied by the minus sign just outside. Once again, a minus multiplied by a positive, because this x is positive, is a negative. A minus multiplied by another minus is a positive. So we end up with 4 minus x plus 3. Couldn't we add the 4 and 3? Because those are two regular boring numbers, right? 4 plus 3 is 7. And don't forget to put the minus x. That's the end of the question. Not much people got it, right? Now, the concept here is simple. You're replacing x with whatever is in the brackets. The simplification part, that is where your homework comes into play. And I keep reminding people, if you don't do the homework and come fully prepared, you're going to get left behind. So make sure you get the homework part done, right? Because it's not fair that 90% of the class does the homework, they come fully prepared, they know the positive and negative numbers, and you want you want to hold back the whole class because you didn't revise it and want me to go through it back from scratch. That's not fair. All right. All right. So let's work out each, but I want to clear some space, like I said. Right, let me erase this, erase this. So the question asks us to find h 2x minus 3. They're obviously talking about this equation. That's the only equation with h in it. So I'm going to write it back here. Hx is what? Hx is 5 minus 2x divided by 4. They have asked us to find h. What do you have in brackets there? 2x. Let me get a different color. I don't want to. They have asked us to find h 2x minus 3. So what do we have in the brackets? Inside the brackets, we have 2x minus 3. So when we go to this equation, keep your eye on this x here. We're going to throw away that x and replace that x in brackets with what? 2x minus 3. We have 5 here. Minus 2. Ah, look, Mr. X there. Let's throw him away and replace him with what in brackets? 2x minus 3. X used to live here, but no more. He has been replaced with 2x minus 3. And then we divide by what? 4. I've given everybody a chance to finish it off from here. Try to simplify this. I'll give you one hint. A lot of people will be tempted to take the 5 and minus the 2 to get 3. That is wrong. According to BODMAS, and you have to do the multiplication first, the brackets first. You have to multiply everyone in this brackets first by minus 2. You cannot minus this 2 from the 5, according to BODMAS. You have to multiply out the brackets first. And once again, everyone in the brackets gets multiplied by who? Not 2, but by minus 2. So make sure and check your signs when you're multiplying out the brackets. Take a minute and send your final answer on the chat. All right. So we have 5 here. We can't do nothing with that 5 yet. We have to multiply everyone in the brackets. Yeah, I'll get a different color. 2, I'll do the signs after. 2 by 2x is what? 4x. And 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. Minus, remember this 2x is positive, right? A minus by a positive is a minus. And a minus multiplied by a next minus is a positive. But we still have this annoying divided by 4. Let's simplify. On top, we could add the 5 and the 6 because they are regular boring values, right? 5 plus 6 is 11. You have a minus 4x divided by 4. You can leave your answer like that. I know some people might be tempted to simplify it more. It is possible to simplify it more, but I guarantee you, if you leave it like that in the exam, you will get full marks. Is it possible to take 4x and minus it from 11 to get 7x? Can you say 11 minus 4x is 7x? No, because when you're adding and subtracting, for you to squish two things together, they must have the same letter. The 11 does not have an x, but the 4 does. So you can't really squish them together. So that's your final answer. Once again, the moral of the story here is whatever you have in the brackets, no matter how strange, you replace X with that. That's all we've been doing. Right? So while you take that down, so right. You notice how these questions look different now? Anybody want to tell me the major difference between these questions and the one before? Take a good look at it. What's the major difference between these questions and the one we did on the previous slide? All the other questions were like G2 or F4. There was only one letter involved. Look at the madness here now. It have G and F. Oh no, that is problems there, right? The questions are going to be significantly harder now. Whenever you have two letters, you always work backwards. A lot of people don't know that. You are accustomed reading this way, right? Because that's how you read all the time, right? From left to right. In functions land, you read it backwards. You have to read it like this. You're going to put -2 into G. And when you get that answer, forget F for the time being. You are going to put -2 into G. You are bound to get an answer. You see that new answer you get? You're going to put it into F to get a final answer. In other words, the first answer feeds the last letter or the second letter being F. But let me do that in slow motion. Nobody usually understands it when I say it like that. They only understand it when I work it out, right? So here's what I said. We're going backwards, right? We are going to put -2 into G. So in other words, I want you all to find G -2 for me. Forget the F, because when we go backwards, the first letter we bounce up is G. So everyone work out G -2 for me and send the answer for that on the chat. I'm going to start skipping some steps because we're supposed to be getting a little bit better now, right? G -2 means you go to where? G. And we replacing X with what? -2. So G -2 is 5 -2. And I'm pretty sure you all got -10, right? Based on the answers, I'm trying my best to read as much answers on the chat. By a show of hands, how much people got the -10? G -2 is just -10. Once again, we just went over here, replace X with -2. So here's the thing. When you put -2 into G, we get -10. -10, you see the first answer we get? He is the new hero. Nobody cares about -2 anymore. He is old news. -2, when you put it into G, we get -10. This -10 that we just got, you're going back, remember we're working backwards. We're going to put it into F. So just to repeat that, we always work backwards. The first answer will feed the next letter. When we put -2 into G, we get -10. -10, we're going to put it into F. So the final question is this. We're already trying to find F -10. Go to F and replace the X in brackets with -10. The first answer feeds the next step. Okay. F minus 10 means you're going to F. Look, F here. And you're replacing the X, not with minus 2, we're replacing it with minus 10. So it's F minus, that's this minus sign, and we're supposed to replace this X with minus 10. You see, the equation came with a minus sign, but your X value that you're putting in brackets happens to have its own minus sign. And a lot of people forgot that. When two minus signs touch, what do we get in maths? Everyone should know by now, a positive. 4 plus 10 is 14. Your final answer is 14. In other words, you have to write your final answer like this. I just writing it ANS here, answer. FG minus 2 is 14. That's the final answer. The final answer is not minus 10. The final answer is the last answer you get. So FG minus 2, the answer is 14. Right? Right? I want you all to notice the subtle difference between K and L. K is FG minus 2. In L, I just switch around the letters. Instead of FG, I have GF. Do you think you will get the same answer if I switch around the letters? In 99% of the cases, no. FG will be different most of the times from GF. See if you all can work out the second question. You're working backwards, huh? You put in minus 2 into F. First, the minus 2 going into the F. Whatever answer you get, feed it to G. If you have 2 minutes. So the first thing we find in is the minus 2 going into F. So the first thing we find in is F minus 2. That is the first thing we find. Forget about Mr. G. We ain't reached Mr. G as yet. So we'll clear up some space here. We go into F, look F here, and we replacing this X with what? Minus 2. 4 minus, and the X that we're replacing in brackets also has a minus. 2 minus signs are going to touch. So you end up with 4 plus 2, which is 6. So when we put minus 2 into F, our first answer is what? 6. That new answer, 6, we're going to feed it to who? G. So we're now going to find G6. G6, look, G here is 5x. You're going to replace x with what? 6 in brackets. 5 by 6 is 30. The final answer is 30. The final answer is 30. A lot of people had 40. A few people had 30. For those who got 40 or a slightly different answer, you think you understand your mistake? All right, let's move forward. All right, so you all have 2 more questions to try M and N. HG0 and HF7. Same concept. 2 letters, but work backwards. The first answer will feed the next portion of the question. Good luck. So once again, when it have 2 letters and the brackets right after, you work backwards. So the first thing we're going to do is put 0 into G. Forget about the H. When we work backwards, the first letter we come in contact with is G. So we're going to find G0, right? G0 is here. So we go to G and replace any X with whatever is in the brackets, which is 0. I think I know the mistake people made. 5 multiplied by 0 is 0. I suspect a lot of people said 5 multiplied by 0 is 5. A common mistake every year, right? Anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So it just so happens when we start to work backwards, 0 into G happens to give us our next 0. Coincidence. We put 0 into G and we just happen to get back 0. Coincidence. What are we going to do with the new answer, the new 0? The new 0, we work backwards and we're going to put it into H. So look, H up here, right? So we're already going to try to find H, make a different color. We're going to find, since we're putting 0 into H, we're already trying to find 0H or H0. So we go to this equation now, and wherever you see an X, look at X there, we replace it with what? 0. 5 minus 2, throw away the X, and in brackets put 0, divided by 4. Right? 2 multiplied by 0 is 0, right? So this part, you can't minus the 2 from the 5. You have to work out the multiplication and brackets first. 2 multiplied by 0 is 0. 5 minus 0 is 5 divided by 4. The final answer, it have two answers. You can put it 3 ways: 5 on 4, or 1 1/4, or some people will put 1.25. I don't know which one you're going to put, but any of them are correct. Right. So let's work out N. HF7. We're going to work backwards. 7 into who? F. So we're working out F7 first. Where's F? That's the green one, right? Replace the X with what? 7. 4 minus 7, that's minus 3. So when we put 7 into F, we get minus 3. The new answer, the new hero is minus 3. We're going to put that into H, because remember, we're working backwards. So once again, just for those who are a little lost, you put 7 into F. We just showed you get minus 3. Take that new answer and put it into H. Right? So we're already trying to find H minus 3. Let's go to H. And this time, instead of replacing the X with 0, like in the last question, replacing it with minus 3. 5 minus 2. Look the X here. Throw it away, and in brackets, put minus 3 divided by 4. And we just try our best to simplify it from here. Remember, 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. And when you multiply 2 minus, you'll get a plus. So minus 2 multiplied by minus 3 is positive 6. So you end up with 5 plus 6, which is 11 divided by 4. So you can leave your final answer as 11 over 4. I know some of you will have it as what? 2 3/4, and some of you all will use a calculator and put 2.75. Any of them is correct. How much people got both correct without my help? Just one more time. We're working backwards. We put in 7 into F. That's this working here. So we went to F, replace the X. The X used to live here. I should have put it in brackets. So that's my fault. I didn't put the brackets here. Right? 4 minus 7 is minus 3. We take that new answer and we continue backwards and put it into H. So this step here is me going to H and replacing the X here with minus 3. 2 by 3 is 6. Minus by minus is a positive. 5 plus 6 is 11. And well, you have that annoying 4 on your minute. Right, so I hope that second explanation fills in any I think we deserve a small little break here. So these 5 heroes, right? The red, the yellow, the green, blue, and black, right? So they're journeying through the land, and of course, they get lost, right? So they see two magical creatures. Which one do you trust to give you directions? Which one looks more trustworthy to you? Option one, the strange creature called a Zambushi, or the other strange creature known as a Z. Who would you rather ask for direction? You're gonna vote on it, and if you are part of the more popular vote, you get 5 gems. The least popular vote, you would think on it. Vote option one or option. In the poll, share the results. It seems that option two, the Tatsia, seemed more trustworthy. So for those who genuinely voted on the Tatsia, you have 5 extra gems added to your collection. For those who chose option one, which is the one I would have chosen, 0 points. Well, 0 gems. Update your stash of gems, right? Right. Let's move on, right? Some people say the first one looked like a rat. That is why they didn't choose it. All right. So I want you all, well, write down O for me. It's the same functions, the same 3 functions at the top. And you're going to be asked to find F squared 4. I want everyone just to give it a try. I know you probably never did F squared 4, but your brain must tell you to do something naturally. You know, sometimes when you're in a strange situation, even if it's a situation you've never been in before, your instincts just tell you to do something. So let's just say I was giving you $1 million to get F squared, even though you never really see a squared functions question yet. If I was giving you $1 million to get that correct, without obviously Googling it, what answer would you send? Well, what reasoning would your brain automatically do? Send your answer on the chat. Just a little experiment. Correct it. Did your brain naturally tell you to do? Well, we're going to put 4 into F, right? And square the answer. So in other words, naturally you would find F4 first. Forget, in other words, ignoring the squared for the time being. How much is F4, right? You're going to go to here and replace what? The X with how much? 4, right? And you're going to get what? 0. Good so far? You just ignore the squared and you just put 4 into F. And whatever you get, you square the answer after. So when you put 4 into F, you get 0. And you just say 0 squared. And how much is 0 squared? 0. How much of you all got that? Your gut told you just put 4 into F, and whatever answer you get, you square. I just want to point out this on the screen is 100% wrong. You will get this 100% wrong in the exam. In other words, what your brain would normally tell you to do is the wrong thing this time. So let me show you how to interpret this question. It's a trick question. F squared 4. In maths, if you have 5 squared, isn't that 5 multiplied by 5? If I have 7 squared, isn't that 7 multiplied by 7? In other words, squared suggests that you repeat something twice, right? That is what squared suggests. So F squared 4 is really F 4. 2 F's and then a 4. You all remember how to deal with 2 letters? you work backwards, right? You're going to put 4 into F. You will get an answer. When you put 4 into F, you will get an answer. I don't know what that answer will be yet, but then take that and re-put it into F. I know re-put is not a real word, but let me just pretend. So you're working it out just like 2 letters. Work backwards. Put 4 into F. Whatever you get, put that new answer back into F again. Send the answer on it. So we're going to put 4 into F. So the first part of the question is just F4, which is 4 minus, and you're replacing this x with 4. So we know we're going to get 0. So when we put 4 into F the first time, we get 0. This new answer, the 0, we're going to visit F again and replace x with the new answer, which was 0. So we really find an F0 now. So it's 4 minus 0, which is 4. The final answer is 4. Right? Try P for me now, please. G squared minus 3. It's the same thing as G minus 3. Put minus 3 into G, and then that new answer, put it back into G again. So we said that this question could be interpreted as G minus 3. Always work backwards. Take the minus 3 and put it into the first G. So we're already trying to find G minus 3 for the first part of the question. Go and replace the x with what? Minus 3, which is minus 15, right? 5 multiplied by minus 3 is minus 15. So the new answer we got is minus 15. When we put minus 3 into the first G, we get minus 15. This minus 15 is a new hero. We're going to take that new minus 15 and put it back into G again. So we're already trying to find G minus 15. Go over here. Replace the x with what? Minus 15. I think the final answer is minus 75. 5 by 15 is 75. A positive by a negative is a negative. Look for your mistakes. Look for your mistakes. Not everyone got it correct, but a few people did. Right? So let's go back through how we got the 15 here. Minus 3 into G, right? So we put in minus 3 into G, replacing this x with minus 3. Now we have to replace it in brackets, and there's a secret multiply here. 5 by 3 is 15. A positive multiplied by a negative is a negative. All right, so take a 10 seconds, and we get ready to move on. All right, now the questions are different. You notice in these questions, they're asking you to solve for x and look at where the number is now. The number is not in the brackets. It have an equal sign, and the number is on the other side of the equal sign. Usually the 10 would have been inside the brackets, but now it's different, and the instructions are also different. Your job is to solve for x. So everyone take down the first question, Q, and I'll show you how to do it. I'll do both of them for you. Right. So this one is different. You're solving for x. So here's what you do. They told you fx is equal to 10. All you have to do is take the fx part and replace it with the equation they gave you. That is all you had to do. What is fx? Isn't it 4 minus 5x and it's equal to 10? And what's the instructions now? Solve for x. Everyone should be able to do this for me. Remember, for the homework, you had to be able to solve for x. You had an entire video on that. The thing with the zombies and the pets and the homeowners, you need to get x on one side and everyone else on the other side. Solve for x and send the answer on the chart. When we're solving for x in this case, we're supposed to throw across the 4 first. Remember, the 4 is positive. Whoever is not connected to the x, the 4, we throw them across first. When you throw across positive 4, you will get what? Minus 4. So you end up with minus 5x is equal to 10. Throw across positive 4, you get minus 4. So you'll get minus 5x is equal 6. 10 minus 4 is 6. We're not finished. We're trying to solve for who? X. The last person to throw across, whoever is touching x, when you throw them across, they will always become a divide. Always. And their sign will not change when they go underneath as a divide. So you can leave your answer as 5 over 6. I know most people put as a decimal. 6 divided by 5 is 1.2. And a positive divided by a negative is a negative. So for those who got it wrong, just check back my work and see which part you made a mistake. The answer is minus 1.2. Right, so let's try R together. R is another solve for x. And you notice the number they gave you is quite on the other side after the equal sign. So gx is equal to 64. Remember when it was fx, we just replaced the fx with the equation they gave us. So if the new question is gx, then you're replacing it with the new equation. X squared is equal to 64. You're trying to solve for x. Now in maths, when you throw something across, like you saw here, you just get the opposite, right? When you throw across a positive, you just get a negative. When you throw across a multiply, you just get what? A divide. So if you are trying to solve for x, you need to get rid of squared. When you throw across a squared, what's the opposite of squared in maths? Squared and square root are opposites. So when you throw across squared, we get the square root of 64, which is 8 from primary school. X is 8. Now, one thing you need to know, and it didn't teach you in primary school, right? Anytime you square root something, you're already supposed to put positive, negative. We'll get to that after, like in primary school, right? If you square rooted 25, you know from primary school, the square root of 25 is 5. But in reality, you're supposed to put positive minus 5. Don't worry about why right now. Just know when you square root something, whatever you get, put a positive living on top of a negative in front of it. That's a discussion for another day. Right? Right? All right. Let's get ready to move on. So some people just want a few seconds to take down everything. Let's give them a 10 seconds. All right, things deserve a small little break there. That was a pretty much amount of stress there. So the team walks up to a pathway, and there are 3 trees. The class has to vote on which tree they are going to climb up to get gems. We can only choose one tree. So I want you all to take a vote here. Take a look at the trees that have one to the left, middle, and right. Whichever tree gets the most votes, that's the one we are going to choose. And oh, there it is. It seems that the middle won by a small amount, by 40, by only by 8 votes or something like that. All right, guys. So it seems that we are only going to be choosing the middle tree. So let's see what the middle tree has for us. So the middle tree is really beneficial to the team black, right? So everyone climb up the middle tree and grab the gems of your particular team color and give me a count up, guys. How much gems do you have in total now? How much gems do you have in total? Once you tell me, you're free to leave. All right. So guys, next week we're gonna continue with functions, huh? Right? You're not gonna get any homework today, but next week you are going to have homework, right? But additional homework to what was previously posted. So far, people have 21 as the highest amount of gems, right? Huh. I don't know how somebody could have 0 gems. That's real bad luck. All right, guys. So thanks for coming to class and we'll clean along.